Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Microsoft's Corporate Vice President, Microsoft Azure Infrastructure, Jason Zander.
Hello. All right, thanks everybody. And we're up to our last keynote here. I was watching the Twitter stream and back, a lot of really good excitement there. Call outs to Boston, I saw New Zealand, I saw the UK, and shout out to Estonia. I know it's getting later over there, but thanks guys, we appreciate you being here, whether you're watching today or whether you're gonna watch this on video later. So we're wrapping up today. We're gonna look at the bottom of the stack here and start turning our attention over to infrastructure for the intelligent cloud. It's super important. You saw Scott talk about all the infrastructure that we have available and all the higher level services. We need something to power that and something that you can go after as well. So today we've covered the developer platform. We've gone through data and analytics, and you've seen how that's all put together. We've also gone through the Internet of Things and the IoT suite being available. We're super excited about that. With cloud infrastructure, we want to make sure that we've got everything required, whether it's networking, if you want to be able to run the new container service that you saw today, containers and those components, doesn't really matter. We're going to make sure that you can put every powerful workload that you can. So let's go ahead and jump right in. First of all, when we think about infrastructure, one of the most common things to get is, well, how should I think about this environment? Or what's new or different or unique about the way that Microsoft thinks about this? And there's really three core capabilities that we concentrate on at the core. The first one is around hyperscale, the ability for us to do scale out and worldwide coverage, to be able to give you connectivity around the entire planet and being able to actually run new workloads in our data centers, whether they're new workloads you have or existing ones that you're trying to move. Hybrid itself is another thing. It's a first-class thing for Microsoft. This is something we've concentrated on from the very beginning from Microsoft. We are expecting that we're going to have a significant number of our customers that are going to continue to run both on-premises and in the cloud. And you need technology that makes that super simple. And finally, trustworthy, because you're trusting your data, you're trusting your business to us. We want to make sure that we're meeting that trust, the security, the compliance, and those sort of work that are required. So we're going to spend some time going through these, doing some demos, and kind of showing that off, and then we'll wrap up today. I want to start off, first of all, by talking about hyperscale. And this morning, Scott talked about our hyperscale footprint around the globe. We have 24 Azure regions available today. Just in terms of reference, that's about 2 times the number of public regions that Amazon has and about 5 times the number that Google has, giving us more than Amazon and Google combined. And as we announced this morning, we're actually very excited to be live in India as well, in Pune, Chennai, and Mumbai. Those are all great locations that we have available, and we're going general availability today. We've had some great feedback from some of the preview customers that are already there. They've been helping bake everything in, and they're now up and running, and it's open for the entire country. And that also includes many of us that are running multinational corporations, where we have offices or customers that are available as well. I'd also point out that we're the first multinational hyperscale public cloud to be available in China, or we've been for the last couple of years, and we're the only multinational public cloud to have a license to operate in China. We've been very successful for the last couple of years, and you should expect to see us continue to do some of this worldwide expansion as it goes. I think that's going to be great for all of us that are trying to get that worldwide footprint. Now, it's just the regions. The regions are where we keep most of our storage and our compute. All of our networking is clearly where we run the workloads. But connectivity in our network is super important. Now, we've got a worldwide set of fiber and all sorts of components to help you with that. We're connected to over 1,700 networks worldwide. Inside of our data centers, we run 1.4 million miles of fiber. That, just by point of reference, that's enough fiber to wrap around the globe 56 times. And we continue to add even more as we go. As you can see, we've got our data center locations everywhere. We've also got our CDN locations where I can get caching and things out on the edge. Our edge nodes and internet exchanges that we have allows us to basically get connectivity no matter where you are and give you really high quality connectivity to meet your business goals. And here again, we're going to continue to expand. Now, we've also gone off and created something last year that we announced called ExpressRoute, and we started expanding this for Azure. Now, what ExpressRoute gives me is I can of course use a VPN to do my connectivity into the cloud, but ExpressRoute gives me speeds of up to 10 gigabits per second and latencies as low as 5 milliseconds. We also give you a predictable QoS. We give you a 99.9 SLA. We do dual circuits on there so we can do failover, and that's a really great guarantee that you're going to get so that as you're trying to make make business critical connectivity, we can expect that to continue to work very well. We have 21 express route locations worldwide. That's more than Amazon or Google. Now, in addition to that, we've also done partnership here, because what ExpressRoute does is it allows you to work with your providers worldwide. And so chances are you may see the logo of the carrier that you're using in order to get your connectivity today from your data center. And so what we do is we go in and we work with them. We'll spend the time up front with that partner, making sure that we can get Azure connectivity with ExpressRoute working very, very well. And then when you come in, it's more of a turnkey thing. You can just ask your provider, hey, I want that connectivity over to Azure, and we can go operationalize that for you and get you up and running. Now, as soon as we get that done, then it gives you a whole number of new scenarios that we're going to walk through that can help you out with that. Now, Azure is the only hyperscale provider that carries traffic across our regions and our backbone. That means, for example, if we have ExpressRoute locations in Silicon Valley, we can carry the traffic to Singapore on the Azure backbone. That gives you the maximum possible connectivity. So again, we're opening up a lot of new scenarios with this, and ExpressRoute has only been around for a year. So even with those 21 ExpressRoute locations, we're dramatically expanding all of those going forward as well. Now, we're also announcing today that ExpressRoute has gone to general availability, or GA, for Office 365 and Skype for Business. Now, what that means is that you have the same private connection to Azure, Office 365, Skype for Business, so it's the same network. You have that same predictable network performance that you're looking for, in addition to enhanced data privacy, because in this case, you can use your carrier, you can get a direct connection from your data center to our data center. That means you're directly connected for that, you bypass the internet backbone. And so many of you are actually implementing or deploying Office 365, Skype for Business, and Azure, in some cases even using Azure to extend Office 365, for example, like SharePoint or other apps. And so this is a perfect combination, because I can set up this networking once. It's high performance, it's trusted, it's got a really good quality of service, and I can put everything together. So we're excited that that's all general available today and ready to go. Now, there's a lot of customers using these kind of hyperscale features that we're talking about, and I want to talk about probably about three to call out just for a little extra focus and see what are they actually using. So Linkery, this is an Israeli startup. It provides free software monetization tools to make online content discoverable, profitable in search and social engines, publishers, and marketers worldwide. Now, the key thing that they're doing with the hyperscale component is they don't actually have an IT staff. In their case, they wanted to be able to handle the dynamic growth that they have. They wanted to be able to do that and get that kind of elastic scale as it comes through. But how do I do that in a cost-effective way where I don't have to actually go build out and build up a big IT staff? And so they're actually running this without, just by using the Azure data centers and a lot of our self-service tools to make that go. Next Generation Sports Network, they wanted to make international soccer matches available live and on demand to a global viewer base. Now, that's super important with those 24 regions that we have. That allows them to go build this app and this service once and actually push it around the entire globe so they can bring professional soccer to the viewers that would like to see it. And in fact, with the infrastructure that we've got deployed worldwide, they're actually able to build that broadcasting network in just 6 months, which is pretty awesome. And when you think about the scenario, there is a lot of elastic scale in here, because when matches come through, they get very, very popular, then all of a sudden I got a lot of demand. I need to crank up the amount of resources that I have, and then I need to be able to figure out, well, when it goes down, I don't want to pay for all that, so bring it back down. And we see that common pattern a lot, including in business, where I might do things like month-end close or quarterly close or those sort of environments. Those are cases where I want to scale up and scale down and just use what I need. And you saw, for example, the container service earlier today, in addition to Azure Batch and some other technology, as well as elastic scale that we have for both Azure websites and virtual machines. So that's a great environment to run that. Finally, we have Xerox, which is a global leader in business process and document management. I think many of us are very familiar with Xerox. They needed to be able to power the new training systems that they had for their company. And they went from a class-based system to more of an on-demand-based system using video in the hyperscale cloud. Now, what that really allowed them to do is they've got universal reach from any device at any time, anywhere. So having branch offices around the world made it, once again, very easy to push out the content and develop a very compelling application experience. So those are just a few examples that we have of using this, using our infrastructure, sometimes scaling up to massive levels, and other times trying to just get the demand to meet the targets that you have for your workloads. Now, how do we actually make this go? Well, there's a few different options that we have available. First of all, we have our virtual machine lineups that we have here, and it starts off with our highest value, the A series. And these are cases where I can allocate a lot of these. They're going to be the least expensive. In a lot of cases, if I wanted to run like a lot of containers, if I want to run a lot of things as a batch job, crank them up, crank them down, great option for that. Then we add in our D series. Here we add in SSD storage and faster CPUs. Really awesome when I want to have more local cache, for example, with the SSD that's there. And then we also have the G series, which is the most memory and the fastest CPUs that we have available. In fact, it's the largest virtual machines and the fastest storage in the public cloud when we combine that with premium storage, which can give you over 80,000 IOPS, which is pretty massive. So again, thinking about a big data workload, if you've got a big massive one, you can put it on a G series, combine it with premium storage. We have local SSD. That's going to give you a really awesome combination. That G series, you can go up to a half a terabyte of RAM and 6.5 terabytes of SSD. So pretty much any big workload you've got, we've got you covered. Now, we're also introducing two new series here today. The first one I want to announce is DV2. This is a new generation of the D series. It's 35% faster than the D series that we have today, so DV2. We're actually running Intel Haswell processors. So again, we get a faster lift on that. And so once again, if you're looking for even that next boost, DV2 is going to be a great option for you. And finally, as Scott mentioned this morning, we're also introducing the N series today. And N series gives us GPU-enabled virtual machines. And you saw that I think there's really great workloads for this. We're using the state-of-the-art GPUs that we're getting from NVIDIA. It allows for great scenarios like remote visualization, computer intensive like simulation, and the RDMA network makes that super fast to get that done. So we're announcing that we're going to be previewing this going forward. And what I'd like to do next is let's go ahead and roll this video from Jensen Huang, who's the CEO of NVIDIA for our partnership. So let's run the video.
Our announcement today is the result of some amazing work that's done by the Microsoft Azure team and the NVIDIA graphics team. It takes an enormous amount of innovation in order to put GPUs into the cloud. These are processors that are intensely high performance, but want to be very, very close to the user. Through very important innovations, we've now made it possible for these powerful GPUs to be included in the cloud. First, of course, is the intense energy efficiency focus that is required because these data centers are really, really large and the cost of managing the data center is very high. The second element is the shortest possible latency so that the computer graphics that's generated or the computation that is done is instantly transmitted to the user. And the third, a GPU has to be general purpose. One of the most important characteristics of the NVIDIA GPUs is the 2-decade-long effort that we've put into the compatibility and the performance optimizations. For the very first time, we have virtualized that entire software stack and integrated it deeply into the Microsoft Azure cloud. As a result, we can be completely compatible with almost any application that you can think of. It could be a seismic processing application, it could be a car design application, an industrial design application, a product design application, to medical imaging applications. There are no applications that run on a PC today that I know of that is not compatible with the NVIDIA graphics stack. Now that capability is put into the Microsoft Azure cloud, and as a result, any applications can run in the Azure cloud and be delivered on any device, anywhere, for anybody. I want to congratulate Jason and the entire Microsoft Azure team on this very important work, this wonderful collaboration. I really believe that this is the beginning of the future of computing.
Great. I want to thank also Jensen and his team for the deep partnership with Microsoft. We really appreciate it. The N series that we're announcing today, it is going to give you the best top-of-line GPU experience in the hyperscale public cloud. We are the first to offer the NVIDIA M60 GPU, the NVIDIA K80. If you're going to do CUDA compute, as I mentioned, we have full RDMA for multi-machine GPU workloads. And you saw some of the really cool applications in there in Jensen's video, whether it's doing design, it's doing simulation, or those sort of things, we really think that that's going to give you, the kind of top of the line offerings there. Now, in particular, we've worked with a number of ISVs that specialize, especially in the space. Their software really wants it, computer-aided design, simulation, as I mentioned, and we're working with those to bring more of those workloads onto our cloud. These GPUs are also great for any workloads that you might have. Just looking at Microsoft, for example, we use the high-end GPUs for a combination of our deep learning stack from MSR. In addition to, if you've seen our demos of things like Skype Translator and the training, where I can translate from one language into another, these GPUs are really awesome for that kind of component. So again, this is basically the top of the line GPU, and you can only get it here on Azure. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is hybrid. I spend a lot of time with CIOs, and as we go through this, it's very clear that hybrid is top of mind, especially in the enterprise. How am I going to run my environments? Now, according to IDC, 65% of enterprises are going to be hybrid before 2016. The public IT spending on cloud is growing 6 times faster than the market, and I'm definitely seeing a lot of things tip even faster as I expect as we talk to companies. There's also a recent survey or study by Avanade that show that 74% of enterprises believe that the hybrid cloud will help grow their businesses. And so hybrid is an opportunity for business growth. And I will tell you, even at Microsoft, that we're absolutely running in a hybrid environment ourselves. We have over 100,000 employees worldwide. We run in countries all over the entire globe, and we have a big, broad app portfolio. And we're moving the bulk of our content into Office 365 and the rest of our workloads. But whether hybrid is being used as part of a transitionary phase while I phase out my own data centers, or this is a place you believe you're going to be in the long haul, it's been very clear to us at Microsoft that you have to have a first-class solution for this. And so I want to walk through that a little bit and explain, well, what are we doing around hybrid? Well, hybrid starts off, first of all, with that hybrid connectivity. So again, the VPN capabilities, but also the express route, that really fast, low latency connection with a great quality of service. But then we can build a bunch of really awesome scenarios on top of that. Just a few examples here. Azure Site Recovery, that basically gives us disaster recovery as a service out of the box. So I can basically do things like failover. I can run virtual machines on my premises in my data center, and I can actually have them fail over to the cloud or do vice versa. The OMS, our management suite, it also provides management of hybrid cloud. So I can actually handle no matter where. If I'm using my own servers, I'm running on Hyper-V or VMware, even if I'm running in other environments, and I got a polycloud environment, I can actually get insights, from all of the data for all of those servers, no matter where they're actually running. Azure Active Directory, it provides our identity management across hybrid. So Active Directory is the most used identity service from the enterprise. And so with things like ADFS, I can do federation services, and I can actually have my identity in both places. I can manage my own applications, I can manage SaaS applications and those sort of components. And now as IT, I get full control over who has access. And when people leave the company or join, I can make sure everything's in sync. And one more example is frankly one of my favorites. In SQL Server 2016, we're introducing a new feature called StretchDB, and it allows you to actually stretch one table across both private and public cloud. Think of a great example of like orders history. I've got orders that may go back decades. I don't need all that data locally. It turns out that SQL Server 2016 will allow me to do a range expression and say, hey, maybe I only want the last 2 years in my own on-premises cloud, and I want the rest of that table to be sitting up in the public cloud. And we will automatically, you just write one app, you just write the same queries you always have, and the query processor will figure out where those records live. You don't have to write any ODBC or any fancy join code. It's all built into the engine. So this is a great example of us updating our own software to really take advantage of and give you a first-class experience in hybrid. So we believe Azure has the most comprehensive portfolio for hybrid cloud of any hyperscale cloud provider. Now, we've also wanted to figure out how to get you to the fastest time to success when you want to implement your own private cloud. And so in particular, we've come out with something called Azure Stack that we announced earlier this year at Ignite. And we've been running versions of this software along for the last couple of years. This really gives you a version of Azure that you can go run yourself. And it quite literally is exactly the same code. So some of the portal demos that you saw today and a couple more we'll do up here, that's exactly the same portal that we have running in Azure Stack that you can run on your own hardware. In addition to this, we've actually produced our hardware offering, which basically means you can have a cloud in the box. We actually give you not only the stack, but you can actually roll a rack into your data center that already comes with Azure Stack pre-installed, all of the hardware and the software and the drivers pre-validated, and I can just as an admin immediately start to provision plans that I want my developers to use, which virtual machines, what offerings, what versions, and then when I turn it over to the developers, they get the same self-service portal that they can get from public Azure. And this really gives me this nice consistency between the two things. Now, like I said, this is a first-class thing for us. A fiber connection is necessary but not sufficient to deliver true hybrid support. In our world, we want to give you the stack and the software you can run yourself, which is consistent. We want to give you the appliance and the hardware that backs that up. And we're going to go update our software so it's not a take-home Lego kit to go put together, but we actually build it in. And that gives you the power in order to build any new scenario that you want. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the journey to the cloud. So if I've got that functionality, what can I do with it? I talked to a lot of CIOs that are plotting, this kind of a roadmap, trying to figure out, well, how do I get in here? How do I get my on-ramp? How do I start? There's a few places that we found work very, very well. In particular, we mentioned backup and disaster recovery. That's a great way to get value out of the public cloud right away. In some cases, lifting and shifting your packaged applications and getting those moved up, whether you're putting them into virtualization, another great way to get going. We have, of course, cloud-native development, and Bill Staples showed some of the new developer features that we have earlier today. But there's also dev test, which is a really great one. In this case, if I decide for data sovereignty purposes or other sort of reasons, I want my systems of record to stay in my premises, you can absolutely do that. But because the app templates that Mark Rusinovich showed in the portal, it's exactly the same in both, I can actually take that same app, build it for the public cloud in Azure, but also deploy it onto Azure Stack locally. That gives me this awesome dev test scenario. Now, of course, even if you're not using Azure Stack, but you just like to use our virtualization components and whatever software that you have, if you're running another infrastructure locally, that's fine too. We support all sorts of automation, Chef and Puppet and Ansible and all those sort of components as well. So no matter what you're using, we got you covered. And generally, when I talk to people, usually if they even start doing these categories of workloads to get started, you're kind of getting into about 50% of your workloads now already headed towards the public cloud. So you get to decide how you want to approach that and how fast you feel is appropriate to move for your business. Now, what I want to do is take a look at one example of doing some of this hybrid and this dev test and a very sought-after feature that we have called Azure Dev Test Lab. And this is super important because as I'm automating and building out my engineering and those sort of systems, that's great. I love Mark's T-shirt. I do think automation is the new black. The only difference is I actually wore black. So I'm going to do a demo here. So if we can switch over to the demo machine, make sure you guys, okay, good, you can see that. So Dev Test Lab, what we wanted to do here is we talked to especially a lot of enterprises about how can I get started doing dev tests? And there's some common tasks and management that really helps out here. So we've got, on the left-hand side, we've bookmarked a few of the top-level things, including Dev Test Labs, just to make it easier to find. And the first thing you're going to notice here is a list of Dev Test Labs that I have available to me. And what that basically means is, if I'm an engineering manager, I can have all of my feature teams, like if I'm doing an accounts receivable or I'm doing a marketing website, each of those can have their own Dev Test Lab environment in here. That makes it super simple for me to get going and manage it. Now, I'm going to go to Fabricam because after Northwind went away, we pretty much only have Contoso and Fabricam. So I'm working for Fabricam today. Those of you who have been around for a long, Access. Okay, thank you. Yes, you remember. Way back in the day, yes. Here's what we want to be able to do, though. Think of common problems that you have to solve. So if I'm a dev lead and I've got a team of engineers, what common problems am I trying to solve? Well, in particular, one of the cool ones I'm looking for is I'm also not only asked to go build high-quality stuff, to release it agile, but at the same time, I've also got some cost controls that are after me. So if I go over here in Fabricam, I can also look at cost thresholds. Now, what this allows me to do I can actually put my spending target in. And so if I've got engineers, before they kind of run away with the budget and accidentally use too much, I can actually put some caps and alerts in here. So if I set this target to 2,000, now I can actually set alerts or actions to take as soon as I hit particular thresholds. And as I get higher and higher, I can take even more. So for example, I might be okay up to about 100%, but then I want an alert. I want you to tell me, because I'll probably go back and analyze how are we doing our dev test cycle, and does it really match our target for the budget. But frankly, if you get all the way to the top, I need to stop because I don't want it to go any higher. The other one we want to do is allowed VM sizes. Now, in this case, of course, we have a ton. In fact, we just showed with the Spectrum that we're adding even 2 more, and there will be more coming. So then the question is, I really want to make sure that I'm limiting the types of VMs that can be for this solution. In FabricCam, we've standardized around A0, A1, and A2. But if I scroll through here a little bit, what you're going to see is the VM types that I've disallowed, because these are not the VMs that we're going to use in our production environment. And that just makes it really simple to kind of have a little bit more control over the images we want to use. The next thing is the maximum number of VMs per user, and this keeps my team kind of happy because if I basically say, look, I don't want any one user using more than 3, that gives us a little bit of a governor over the amount of activity that's present inside of the system, and I can avoid having one particular user or task take up too much of that. And I love this one. This is one of my favorites actually. This is the shutdown scheduled shutdown support. So we only bill you by the minute, and so one of the advantages of dev tests in the cloud, it's not only the cheaper prices for the virtual machines, but when you're not using them, you don't pay for them. Now, of course, one of the common automation tasks is how do I avoid having those things running 365 if I don't do any work for it? And so this allows me to go schedule a shutdown. Of course, you can override it, figure out maybe some you have as a database on the tests in the back end. I want those to keep going. But like normal dev test ones, I don't want them actually running the entire time. And so I can schedule that. Now, I can tell you for MSIT, Microsoft IT, when we first did the move of dev tests into Azure for the public cloud, it was at first a surprise because they had basically just taken what they already had, which is their own servers, kept them running 24/7, 365, and then ran it the same way. And they're like, hey, this thing's expensive. So we went back and implemented this automation, and within 2 months, we'd saved ourselves $1.5 million, which also gives you an idea of the kind of size of the MSIT operation. But I think this is a cool one because it keeps you from getting surprised. So all of these kind of policy and controls really allow me as a dev lead, an engineering manager, to really make sure my team is both productive, but then I don't have to actually worry about running away with my budget or the controls. Now, the other thing I would show here is you saw earlier today some examples of continuous integration and continuous deployment with Visual Studio Online. And the way we've got this set up, if you opt into it, you can actually have the virtual machine images that are stored here hooked up to that pipeline. Now that means when I come in as an engineer in the morning, then we're going to have already done a build of the latest branch of the source code. It's going to actually have done all the testing on it. It's going to have prepared the image and put it right in here. So when I come in for the day, I've got the latest, and I can just go over here to a particular machine and say, let's go ahead and connect to it, and then I'm off and running. And of course, you can hook that up with any automation system you want, but that's something we've built in as well. And so we're finding, especially for a lot of enterprises where they're managing a lot of images, they're managing a lot of engineering staff and that kind of thing, that this combination of technology is actually super helpful and super important. So we've got Dev Test Labs in preview right now. All right, let's go ahead and flip back over to the slides, please, and we'll keep going. Now, the next thing I wanted to announce today is that we're going to GA for Azure File Storage. And this is something we've been in preview and previewing for a while. We've gotten a lot of really great feedback for it. Basically, this gives me a fully managed low-cost file share and server, so I can pull those things together. We do geo-replication, so if you sign up for that, you can basically make sure that things are geo-replicated, and our regions are generally over 100 kilometers apart from each other for disaster recovery purposes. Now, this implements industry standard SMB3, so it means any client or application you've got that's using SMB3, you're basically good to go. We've also added a new feature here, which is you can mount files to on-premises or to cloud VMs. Now, that's cool because now in those hybrid scenarios, I can once again be able to make my apps work with a combination of Azure File Storage in the cloud, my local system. If I've got applications that I've written that expect a file server, SMB3 is part of that app structure, that means I can easily move those up into the cloud as well and now I have a solution that makes it super easy to be able to go target that. So another great way to both deal with files, lots of data, and also your applications that you've got. So that's general availability starting today. Now, if we look at hybrid, again, we have a lot of customers that are leveraging this hybrid functionality, and I want to call out 3 of them in particular. So let's start off with Textron, which is an American manufacturer. They include manufacturing of aircraft, and they have annual revenues of near $14 billion, so a very large business. They're leveraging Azure for hybrid storage for their unstructured data storage needs. So in other words, they're running their on-premises data center, but they're also using a storage system for Azure. Now, being able to do that, they were able to reduce their annual storage costs by $2.5 million. And that also helped them shorten their data retrieval time from 72 hours down to just minutes. And again, that's another great value of the economics of the cloud and the fact that we have that hyperscale reach, but also that hyperscale volume that allows us to keep our prices very, very reasonable for this kind of scenario. The next scenario I want to call out is Paul Smith. This is a Nottingham-based fashion retailer, and they've built a hybrid cloud with Azure and Microsoft technology. So they're using Windows Server, Hyper-V, Store Simple, System Center. Again, for hybrid scenarios, you don't have to use Azure Stack. That's a new offering we have. But if you're using Hyper-V, you're using VMware, of course, we'll make those scenarios work as well. Now, in this case, on this Microsoft stack, they increased their data center density by 200%. They saved $1.4 million in 1 year and reduced the recovery time from 48 hours down to 5 minutes, which is a really great example of that DR, and it also helps them with their growth. So if they add more stores, more outlets, those sort of things, they can actually leverage the fact that I do have some on-premises work, but I can also leverage the cloud to help me with that growth. Now, finally, we also have Telenor. It's a Norwegian multinational mobile operator. They have 189 million mobile subscribers. They're using Azure for Dev and Test, in particular for a SharePoint 2013 upgrade that they're doing. Now, being able to do the kind of scenario that I just showed here around that environment, that saved them 70% in costs, and it sped up their access to environments from 2 weeks down from 3 months, which is where they were before. So again, being able to just go up, allocate the VMs, and use that, it's basically self-service, makes it very fast. Now, I want to finish off with trustworthy, because trustworthy is an important one. The truth is we need to make sure that our cloud is world-class, and you're trusting us with your workloads and with your data, and we have to make sure that we're providing you the best possible environment for that. You're putting your businesses in our hands. I take that very, very seriously. And we're, of course, doing exactly the same thing with our own business at Microsoft. We're going to go first and continue to do that, but I really want to make sure that we're building the best possible environment for that. So we're investing heavily in building a cloud that you can trust. There's 2 aspects to this that we want to cover. First is securing the platform, and there's empowering you. So let's start off by talking a little bit about securing the platform. And I want to talk about 4 attributes that we're going for. The first one is around security. And this starts with my own team, my own engineering team, building the base of all of this, following the software development lifecycle, the secure software development lifecycle, SDL. We also have put together the Operation Security Assurance Framework. And that covers how we operate our services securely. That includes things like running anti-malware, anti-DDoS, anything else we need to protect the environment, starting off at the host and the environment and then moving up into your environments, especially for our platform as a service if you're relying on us, for the operating systems, opposed to virtual machines. Now, also, Microsoft has been a leader in privacy for over 20 years. We've got Microsoft Cloud Infrastructure, and we support over 1 billion customers on top of that, when you include Skype and Xbox and Lync and Bing and everyone else. It's a massive footprint. Azure itself, we've got over 240 million user accounts across 127 countries. So we've really spent a lot of time around privacy. Our Microsoft Online Services privacy statement, that basically gives you the guarantees of how we're going to treat your data. And we want to make sure that we're doing a good job on that with privacy. The next thing is about transparency. Like, where's your data stored? Who owns it? Who gets access to it? With Azure, your data is your data. You get to keep it. We'll help you keep it safe, and it's up to you to use it. We're not using it for other purposes. We're not going to sell ads on it. We're not going to do any of that kind of stuff. Your data is your data. And finally, there's the compliance. And we are basically building out a massive compliance footprint. In fact, let me show you some of the examples we have here. Azure is compliant with 30 industry standards. We're proud to have the largest compliance portfolio in the industry right now. As you can see, we have examples of compliance both across the enterprise and the kind of the ISO standards and things that you'd expect. We're also doing a lot of work around particular types of verticals, so healthcare and those environments. And finally, a lot of work around the entire world. So, for example, European Union model clauses, United Kingdom G-Cloud. And as I mentioned, we are in China, so we have MLPS and CCC PPF. I say that fast, but those are the certificates you need in order to be able to operate in China. So you should expect to see us continue to push for more and more, whether it's in your industry or whether it's in your region or your area around the world. Now, today I'm also excited to announce the Financial Services Compliance Program. We know that banks and the finance industry is one of the most heavily regulated industries that we have in the world, which is super important. So this program that we have, it meets the demanding needs of financial industry. It's aligned to global oversight and risk management requirements of financial services, customers and the regulators. In particular, what this is going to give you is access to our audit reports and evidence if you sign up for this, and our penetration testing results, because we have some of the best hackers in the world. Their job is to help keep us secure. Finally, it's a direct channel into the Azure security and compliance engineering team. So right into my team, we'll tell you exactly what we're doing and share that information with you. So we found, as we've talked to financial institutes around the world, this is one of the things that they're very interested in having. So we're delighted to announce this program today, and we look forward to working with companies that are interested in this. Now, finally, we want to talk about empowering you. And there's a lot of technology that's required for us, both in the room and streaming online. A few examples here. Key Vault, in particular, allows me to store and manage encryption keys and other secrets. And I can do a separation of duties. So if I'm an admin, I can figure out how to actually, control these things, roll my secrets over, but I can keep that separate from developers who are building applications that have to be secure, but maybe I don't need to give the developer the actual, keys. That's going to be managed by my security team in IT. We also provide client-side libraries that allow you to do encryption yourself. We make that super simple. We've created network security groups across VPNs as well as ExpressRoute to make that, much more secure. Azure Active Directory enables two-factor or multi-factor authorization, so I can figure out how to get that extra level of security. And we have a deep catalog of security solutions from all of our vendors. And I think Scott talked about a few of those today. Now, the thing we want to announce today, and Scott covered this, so I'm just going to briefly mention, we're announcing today the Azure Security Center. As Scott showed earlier today, this really gives you the opportunity to not just do guidance, because guidance is great, you have to have that. But honestly, you really want some software backing you up, and that's what we're giving you with Azure Security Center. We've done the integrated security monitoring, the policy management, and we can basically pull in a whole bunch of data. The cool thing is look, we're running one of the biggest clouds in the world. And that goes for all of our big properties, Office, Xbox Live, Skype, etc. So we see bad actors in what they are doing. And with Azure and the stunning growth we've had with Azure, we're obviously getting even more workloads coming into the system. So our ability is to go take all that data that we have, and along with our partners that you see here, and combine those together, put it in with machine learning, and start looking for the sort of threats that we both care about for our own properties, because I got to keep them secure, but I also want to bring that for you so that you can figure out what's going on, and we can take proactive steps to help keep your environment secure. So you get this extra advantage just being on our cloud in with the rest of our own, first-party workloads and some of the big properties that we have. Now, with that, I'd really take a look at this and see it in action. So let me introduce Sarah Fender up, and she's going to demonstrate for us Azure Security Center. Sarah.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, so we're going to take a look at this from Connor's perspective. Connor works for the Chief Information Security Officer and is tasked with ensuring the security of all his company's assets. Connor starts by logging into the Azure portal and launches the Security Center. Here, Connor can set security policies for the company's subscriptions and monitor the security state of the company's virtual machines, networks, databases, and applications. At a glance, Connor can see that there are issues which need to be addressed, and he can click down for more information or to take action. In addition, resource owners can quickly learn about and address issues. The security recommendations provide an easy way to guide them through that process. So here we can see that we've got a recommendation to enable a web application firewall. And we can click in to select from a list of integrated partners. Really, in just a few clicks here, we can have a partner solution deployed, configured, and up and running in our environment. Some other recommendations we see here are things like enabling network security groups, so we can control inbound and outbound traffic to our subnets, enabling auditing for SQL databases or transparent data encryption, addressing OS configurations that may have drifted from the recommended baselines, and much, much more. But what really has Connor's attention today is these security alerts, because he knows that even with the best protections in place, attackers will continue to innovate and target his organization with an increasingly sophisticated set of attacks. Azure Security Center continuously collects, analyzes, and fuses data from across Connor's company, from the Azure resources that they're running, also from the Azure network, from partner solutions like anti-malware or firewall solutions that he has deployed. And it does that to help effectively detect threats that might otherwise go unnoticed. Here we see that an RDP brute force attack was attempted. And we know this because we've applied machine learning to understand what typical network traffic should look like for Connor's company. And as a result, it can effectively detect when access attempts are being perpetrated by bad actors instead of legitimate users. And we see that activity level here in the security alert, along with information about the source of the attack. In this case, we can see that the attack originated from an IP address in Russia. This very, very valuable piece of threat intelligence can then be used to help us detect attacks against other Azure customers. That's really where the magic starts to happen. As Jason mentioned, Microsoft has access to this absolutely massive amount of global threat intelligence, from online services like Azure and Office 365, from endpoints and servers, from specialized internal security teams and external threat intelligence sources. And we can leverage that information along with a really massive amount of security expertise, which frankly is very hard for most organizations to match. We can leverage that to help detect attacks. A great example of that here is that we've detected that 2 of Connor's virtual machines are communicating with a bad IP address. And we know this because we've correlated network traffic with global threat intelligence, in this case sourced from our digital crimes unit. Connor can click in to view additional information about the attack, along with recommendations on how to remediate it. Azure Security Center provides Connor with the visibility that he needs to prevent, detect, and respond to threats, enabling his company to move to the cloud with confidence. Back to you, Jason.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about some of the customers that have actually been using the preview, because Azure Security Center is going to be available coming up in this calendar year for preview. With a set of customers here, let's first start off with Metro Bank. And they're looking for Azure to help them provide a flexible and scalable platform for their IT needs. And again, as we talked about, banks are very highly regulated. And obviously, they have immense need for security. I think all of us with checking accounts and money deposited are happy that they're doing that. So they need access for audits and compliance and those sort of components, and Security Center helps them keep that environment safe. Chrono Drive is a drive-through grocery service. They have 62 stores in France and Italy, and just like a lot of us, they're actually putting a lot of their important data, both their inventory, all their employee records, these sort of things, into the cloud. Data is very critical, and in this case, being able to do the protections that you saw up there from Azure Security Center, make sure they have a nice, secure environment. And finally, United Technologies Building and Industrial Systems. This is a provider of building automation and fire safety products, among other products that they have. In this particular case, they have, like a lot of us, a lot of security tools that they're currently using in order to keep their environment safe. But really, Azure Security Center allows them to do a lot more consolidation into one comprehensive solution, and again, starts to bring all that corpus of data that we have available everywhere around the world. So just a few examples of this. We're really excited about the technology, and it'll be previewing coming this year. Now, finally, I want to wrap up here by talking about an example that actually brings a lot of this content together, the hyperscale, the trustworthy nature, and hybrid. And I want to talk about Walmart. Obviously, Walmart is a multinational retailing corporation. They have over 11,000 stores, 28 countries, e-commerce websites in over 11 countries. I think many of us are very familiar with Walmart as one of the largest, if not the largest, employer in the entire world. Now, Walmart's IT organization, they got the unique challenge of how do I actually solve for all control of this new, business models that I have, my employees, my stores, and that kind of stuff. And so what I really want to do is invite Jay Martin, who's the VP of Infrastructure and Platform Services at Walmart, up on stage. Now let's hear a little bit more about Walmart. So Jay.
Jason, how are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you for inviting me here today.
Oh, we appreciate having you here today. So can you tell us a little bit more about the size and scope of challenges that Walmart faces?
I wanted to start out with a couple of factoids, if that was okay.
That would be great.
Everyone, I think, sees Walmart and appreciates some of its size. But a couple of factoids that are out there was in 2014, our number one selling item was bananas. We sold about a billion.
A billion?
A billion bananas.
Wow. That's a lot of bananas.
On a daily basis, we get about 37 million customers that interact with a Walmart. So that's
wow.
Over the population of Canada.
Wow.
And then one that my kids can appreciate is Halloween's coming up, and obviously candy in the seasons. Something that we look forward to. And if you take a case of candy, which is roughly almost 24 inches, and we're going to ship these cases to our stores and clubs. If we were to line those up, starting here in downtown Seattle, we would actually go all the way to Chicago, Illinois.
Wow.
So it kind of gives you idea of
that's like a day and a half drive.
And we say scale, that's a little over 2,000 miles.
Wow.
So it's there. But that's only part of the complexities. I think that really the change and the transformation in our customer, and we're listening to the customer and what they want, is forcing us to rethink things. Our scale is phenomenal, but it's also what we like to say batch-driven. As the customer expects near real time and the use of mobile devices in our stores and clubs, how are we going to transform really from being a large batch company to near real time? And we're in the middle of that transformation right now.
Oh, that's awesome. I know you're also running a hybrid environment today. So can you tell us a little bit about the rationale behind that and how that works?
Yeah. So we, at Walmart, we have a strategy. It's called cloud powered. And really what that's about is it's about physical, virtual, elastic workloads. And probably most importantly, running at the point of need. And we're very proud of our e-commerce business. We've been pretty much out in the public talking about our open infrastructure. We have about 150,000 cores supporting our online business, we actually feel pretty good about that. But we also do know that as we start looking at the stores, clubs, and distribution centers and the decentralization, a combination of private and a multi-tenant public cloud is probably, is definitely the answer there. And, last thing is I don't think that Walmart and enterprises should view it as kind of one cloud. I think what we're settling on is a kind of a micro cloud or an ecosystem of clouds kind of working together. And that data and analytics is really what's, kind of driving us forward.
So you get a combination of both. And what kind of workloads are you actually running then? As you look at the public cloud, and the private cloud, how are you distributing your workloads? What kind of things are you looking at for the public cloud in this hybrid scenario?
Yeah, well, first, I really have to say that Microsoft has come a long way in the last 24 months. So, really,
You've been busy.
Right now, we've been working with you to define most of our applications are virtual, standalone, a lot of test dev. We're still not attached openly to the internet. These are intranet applications. We're waiting on the Azure Security Center, which we've been working with you on. And
excellent. Preview.
We're excited about seeing that launch. That's going to open up the doors. We're finishing our final 2 sprints. So at the end of October, we're real excited. We have a platform that we run inside of Walmart. It's called OneOps. Think of it as a platform, but more importantly, an application lifecycle management that allows the developers to continuously engineer. We're building those southbound APIs not only into our private cloud infrastructure, but also we'll be bringing up the Azure interfaces using ARM, which was just released.
Perfect.
And we're excited about that, to be able to run services at that point of need at a cost point that makes sense. So
yeah, fantastic. No, that's a great usage. So I mean, speaking of kind of scenarios, then I guess there's a lot of folks out there that are trying to figure out, okay, how should I plot my course? What should I be doing? So as somebody who's really deep into this, thought very deeply about it, what kind of advice would you give companies that are making that same journey?
So I got two pieces of advice, and we talked about one of them earlier. Top talent. If you're going to run a private cloud, Sam Walton gave us our people make the difference, and in Walmart Technology. We're always looking for that top talent, because understanding how far you can go, what's possible, what's imaginable, it's about our people. And we have some of the best engineers out there. The other thing is it's about picking a partner. And it's not just about the technology stack, but it's can you really share an ideology with a partner that you're going to go down and venture. And we'd like to consider, Microsoft one of those partners, and we'd like to consider Azure as kind of that tool in the tool belt. And we're going to work together to figure out, when best to use you and how best to scale you, especially when we look globally. Yeah,
and we really appreciate the partnership and pushing us hard too. That's always really good. So great collaboration. So thank you very much, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Awesome. Thanks, Jay. So we have a lot of really great content available today for AzureCon. So the next steps here are basically to go off and learn, engage, innovate. We got 60 breakout sessions that are all set and ready to go. Lots of demos. We've got some Q&A that's coming up. Mark Rusinovich, Corey Sanders, a couple of folks you saw up here today. They're going to be a core part of that, so we encourage you to get a hold of that. There's also the AzureCon Challenge. You can check that out at challenge.azurecon. Lots of prizes, rewards. Go have fun with that. Really, I think you saw just a glimpse of what we can do with the cloud and all this cool new technology. There's some really awesome scenarios out there, and we're really looking forward to see what you're going to do with it. So with that, I'm going to say thank you very much.